Jungle.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum friends. Welcome back to Football Gupshup. We are doing Football Manager 24, the new series called Who Will Manage. So guys, if you have seen the previous episode and you loved it, then you're going to enjoy the next one. And please do subscribe. Please do press the like button as well. We really do need your support. So let's begin today's episode. I'm sure you're going to love it. So let's do this now. Right guys, as you can see, we have got our wheel, and you do know by now what we're going to do. What we will do is we'll spin the wheel and we'll select our next club, and then in the next wheel we'll select the new manager. It can be anyone. The previous episode it was Graham Potter managing Liverpool. This time around it could be any random club from any European clubs. We have got around 40 clubs, so Liverpool is completed. Now we're going to go on to the next one. It could be any club from Spain. It could be from France. It could be from Germany. It could be from England. It could be from anywhere. Now, the catch over here is that we do select a club. Then we do select a manager. And imagine if we get someone like Southampton or maybe Leeds. And the next manager you get in Ancelotti. So Ancelotti managing Leeds United. We are kind of running that kind of scenario, that how will he do with a team like Leeds United. So that is what we're trying to do. He could easily get Bayern Munich as well, which he already managed. So I'm just saying this as an example. So this is what we're trying to achieve. What does it looks like in terms of club if they get a good manager and if they get a good budget as well. So in the third wheel, we're going to spin the wheel and see how much transfer budget will they get in addition to what they already have at the club. So this is how we're going to do. So let's begin with this first wheel spinning. Let's see which club we're going to get first, and I hope it'll be a good club. Let's see what we're going to get by the spinning wheel. Is going to be really interesting. And it is Young Boys from Switzerland. So we are going to Switzerland, guys. So that is really going to be interesting. BSC Young Boys, here we go. And who will manage BSC Young Boys? I'm sure it's going to be really interesting and exciting. And first time myself, I'm going to be managing a Swiss club. So it'll be really interesting to see. Anyway, so we got BSC Young Boys. And right now we're going to go on to the next one. In terms of who will manage BSC Young Boys. And let's see, there is Pep Guardiola, there is Mourinho, there is Steven Gerrard, there is Marco Silva. So many names, and we're going to spin it and see what do we get. And we are coming towards Kieran McKenna. So that is a very nice combination. I mean, BSC Young Boys in Swiss League, Kieran McKenna, who is currently managing Ipswich Town, and he gets to manage a Swiss club. And I think this is a good combination. And this is what we're going to do. Kieran McKenna at BSC Young Boys. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy this. Let's move on to the next one. And this will certainly make things quite interesting. How much transfer budget are we going to get? Let's spin this. And there we go. We are spinning this wheel. Hopefully it'll be good budget. 25 million. Okay. Fair enough. 25 million on top of what BSC Young Boys board will also give us. So that is a very good transfer budget, I think. So we'll see what we can make do with that amount of money. I'm sure we can add some good players, and I'm sure that you guys will be looking forward to. So in the next segment, we are going to try to get those transfers in. We're going to sell some of the players. We'll see what the squad looks like. And once we do that, then we'll get some transfers in. And hopefully you guys are going to be waiting for that. What do we get in for Kieran McKenna as the BSC Young Boys manager? This is going to be really interesting. So hopefully we'll have lots of fun. And I'll see you in after the transfers are done. Right, guys, we have done the transfers right now with the BSE Young Boys under Kieran McKenna, and we have done a lots of good business. As you can see on your screens, we're going to go one by one. First, we're going to go with the exits, and then we will talk about the players that we have brought in for Kieran McKenna's new manager tenure under BSE Young Boys. So there you go, guys. Lustenberger, who is 35 years of age, we have sold him, and apparently very good bid came in for him, and we managed to sell him because he's 35 years of age. He was a veteran, but we wanted to get in some new faces and fresh blood as well. So that is why we have sold him, and we done a good bit of business as well. I mean, selling him for 6.75 million was a very good piece of business, as well as we also managed to sell Loris Benito. Although there was some reaction from the fans regarding him because he was also one of those players who has been just brought in recently. But we felt that there were some other better options, and we'll show you later who we have gone for. But he was 31 years of age, and then a very good bid in came in for from Genk, and that was around 7.75 million, and we couldn't resist. Then another bid came in for Ganvula, who was the striker, but I felt like it was a case of we needed like few good players in that position because our formation is going to be a little bit different, and we are not going to go with some other kind of players where they are not good enough, because with this kind of formation you really need powerhouses, and that is why we managed to sell him. He was a good forward. I mean, if you look at his stat, it's not that bad, but we wanted to have some good players in that position, so he was sold to Nantes for a very good fee, around 7.25 million. Then there was a big bid came in for Niasse. We didn't want to sell him, but it was a very good bid from Chelsea, so we managed to get a good piece of money. His stats were really good, but I felt like the two midfielders that we were targeting were so good that I thought, you know what, it's better to have those two rather than have him, because Chelsea came in. I think this was his third bid, which was accepted, and I rejected the first bid, the second bid as well. But when they came in with the third bid, I was really happy with the fee that they were offering, and I was able to sell him for that fee. Now, next player, I was a little bit reluctant for this, but Middlesbrough came in with like two bids, and I felt like maybe I should keep him because he is a very good defender, and he's 3.5 star as well. His stats are so good: jumping reach 16. If you look at his strength, 15. Looking at his tackling is 15. Positioning was really good in 12, and I felt like he is a kind of a player that we should try to keep, and maybe he's a kind of player that we should build the team around. But when Middlesbrough came in with a very good offer, I mean, I felt like, you know what, maybe we need to sell him and bring in somebody else for less money, and maybe they will grow into a very good prospect as well. So that is why we sold him as well with Niasse and Kamara. Those two players were the only ones which I was reluctant, but in the end I was able to sell them for a very good fee. Then a bid came in for Colley from Birmingham City, and he plays as a winger. The reason I sold him because I wasn't able to get his space in the team, because we're going to play with a formation where I don't think so I'll be able to capitalize him, although he has got pretty good stats. I mean, look at his acceleration 14, agility 15, and if you look at his dribbling is 14 as well. So he's a very good winger, but I don't think so he's a kind of a winger who would give me those what I wanted to get out from a player, because I want someone who can be really robust and be really good in terms of getting goals, and I didn't think so that he's good in terms of giving us goals. So that is why I sold him as well for a very good decent fee. Then the big bid came in from Nottingham Forest for Elia, and he was one of those players, 3.5 stars, which I was not happy with, because the thing is, he is pretty good player, but he cannot play in multiple positions. So I was looking for someone who could play in multiple positions as well. And I think a very good bid coming in from Nottingham Forest, I think was a very good piece of business. And I also wanted to reduce the foreign players in the club as well. So that is the reason why I managed to sell Alaya. And then the next bid was for Shaiva from Clermont, as well as Montero from FC Lausanne. Montero was a very good player, but I think we have got better players in terms of the players that we have sold. And I know it's a huge change. I mean, selling like 5 or 6 good players, but look what we have in terms of what we brought kind of players in. And I'm sure that you guys will really be agreeing with me with the kind of players that we've got. Marco John is the left back that we went out for, and I think he has got the very good potential ability as well. He's a German, and he was a very good buy. I mean, getting from Hoffenheim for a very good fee, around 4.5 million. I think he's going to be a very good player in the coming future. Look at his dribbling, look at his acceleration, agility, balance, pace, as well as his positioning, as well as his tackling and technique. I think he's going to be a very good player. So I'm hoping that he'll be a very good left back for BSC Young Boys. And then the big one was Gomez, Maximiliano Gomez on free. I mean, I was looking for a striker, and suddenly this man came in the scouting department. And I felt like, you know what, we're not going to have to pay any transfer fee. So it's better to sign him on free. And we managed to do that. So we got him. And a very good player, Maximiliano Gomez. And I think he's going to be a very good player looking at his stats. His strength is 16. He is going to be very, very good in terms of holding the ball, as well as work rate 14, teamwork 15, off the ball 14. That is the reason I went for him as a sporting striker, and finishing 14 as well, so he can finish as well. Whereas his technique is 12. So I think with his aggression, anticipation, and bravery, he's going to be a very good player, almost like Carlos Tevez, almost like a player who is going to run for you throughout the game and is going to make that hard work look a little bit easier on the other players. So that is the reason why we went in for him. And then we went in for the midfield player that I was talking about, Eric Martel. Very brilliant player. We have signed him, and I think we have an exceptional player on our hands. He can play in that defensive midfield. He can play in that number 8 position as well. I mean, he is so good that, you know, I didn't believe for a moment that BSC Young Boys have been able to get him. And, you know, he is going to be really the player that we're going to build around. And not only him, there's another player that we have signed and I wasn't expecting, which is Dadai from Berlin. And you know him from Hungary. He played in Euros as well. And I think he's going to be one of those players who's going to be really the key over here. Him and Martel are going to be the midfield duo where BSC Young Boys are going to be able to push in the Europe as well. So we are aiming to win the Swiss League as well as those European competitions. That is the reason why we are going for these young players who are going to have their big, huge 3 years in future. And we're going to use them, we're going to utilize them and make sure that BSC Young Boys are going to be there and thereabouts. Now, the big one that we have went in is John Duran, who you guys know that he has joined Al Nassr in real life, but we have managed to get him on loan from Aston Villa. And the reason I went in for him because I wanted to go with the powerhouse, the guy who can really make things work for us. He was available on the loan market, so I went in for him. We put in a bid and we managed to get him for around 13.75 million. That is the loan fee which we'll be paying in all over the package. It includes some clauses as well, but we're going to pay 13.75 million. And I think he's going to be a huge, huge player for BSC Young Boys. John Duran is a really good player. I really love him. In real life, he's so good. I can't believe that he has gone to the Saudi League. I still think that he had a huge future in the European League, especially in the Premier League. There's so many clubs that he could have gone for, but I was really shocked and surprised that he has gone to Saudi Arabia. Of course, the factor is the money. But anyway, in this version, Kieran McKenna is going to be having John Duran as his main striker. And then what we have also got here is Esposito, who I really love. And the reason I went in for him, that for some reason we're going to play with 2 up front. And if one of our strikers gets injured, then he'll be coming in and filling in that position. So that is the reason why we went in for Esposito. There was another player which I wanted to get, but it would have been a huge, huge surprise. Maybe not now, maybe in the next season. So that is why I didn't go for him. But anyway, Esposito is a player that we have signed from Inter Milan. And I'm sure that you guys know a lot about him. And he's going to be playing for us, for Kieran McKenna. Now, we're going to go and tell you what we have done in the defensive department. We have gone in for Bernau, who is the perfect replacement. I think, you know what, he's going to be one of those defenders that in coming years is going to be one of those players who could play for the top European side. And that is the reason we went in for him. Jumping reach 17, strength 16. His work rate is 16 as well. His determination is 16. Aggression is 16. Marking is 14. Tackling is 13. He is the defender that we really wanted to have. And I think he's going to be really the key player for us. And not only that, we also went in for Lars Lucas Mai. He is a really good player, a 4-star potential. And I think he's going to be a really good player for us. I mean, jumping reach 16, strength 15, tackling 14, positioning 14, marking 13. I think he's going to be a really good player. And we have signed 2 good defenders. And the other one that we went in for, the X factors, the reason I sold those wingers is because I knew who I wanted to get. and that was Facundo Torres from Orlando City, and we managed to sign him. And 4.5 star potential ability. You know all about him. He's been the really one of those players which everyone goes for. And the reason we went in for him because he can play in those multiple positions, and that is the reason why we went in for him. As well as another X Factor player, that is Daniel James. He was available on the market for some reason, and we went in for him due to the fact that he can play on the left and the right wing. In case if we change the tactics, we need to have some wingers in our team, and that is the reason why we have went in for him. I think he can play in Swiss League. He is not able to play in the Premier League because Premier League is a little bit physical, but I do think so he can play in Swiss League. So that is the reason why we went in for him, and Fulham suddenly made him available in the market, and that is what we have done. This is what the business we have made. And in terms of Kieran McKenna, he is with us. He's going to manage us. There you go. He's going to be the assistant coach, as well as he's been given the responsibilities in tactics. He's been given the responsibilities for match as well. So that is what we're going to do. So let's see what will Kieran McKenna do in terms of his first season at BSC Young Boys. And I'm sure you guys are going to be really waiting. How will the results turn out? Will he be able to win the league? Will he be able to go further in the Europe? So we're going to see for one last bit, what competitions are we in? So we are in Champions League. We are in the Swiss League as well as the Swiss Cup. So hopefully he'll get a trophy in his first season. And I'm sure we will now sim this, and we will get back with the results for the first year. So stay tuned in and we'll get those for you. Right, guys, we are back and we have completed the first season for the BSC Young Boys with Kieran McKenna. And guys, we have some good news. BSC Young Boys are the champions under Kieran McKenna. I mean, what a season his team has performed. They have really outperformed every aspect, and I'm sure that you guys, we're going to go through the results, we're going to go through the team analysis, and we're going to see where it was mostly the case of Kieran McKenna's tactics, as well as what did he get out of those new players, and which players do we think are going to be sold in future, so who underperformed. So we're going to go through that. First of all, we're going to go through the league table and see in terms of young boys playing 38 games, 24 games won, whereas they drew 8 games and lost 6. In terms of points, they got 80 points. I think it's a very good return. In terms of, they were 10 points ahead of FC Zurich, Servette around 15 points, and I think everybody was very much far behind. So I think it's a very good result for Kieran McKenna winning the Swiss League. And now we're going to go towards the squad, looking at who performed really good. Looking at the appearances, you can see that it was Lucas Mai who had 53 appearances, which is really impressive. I mean, we signed him and he seemed to be one of those players who would give us at least huge numbers in terms of starting with Bernau, who also was brought into the club. And I think he has been really brilliant. So him as well as Bernau, who is under 47 games, he scored 4 goals and with 4 assists. So these two were pretty much solid at the back. The big one is Facundo Torres, playing 50 times, scoring 15 goals and assisting 19 times, as well as Dardai playing 46 games, as well as Martel 45. So those two really played good. But the case in terms of for Dardai, he mostly played in defensive position. So he was not happy with the position he was playing in. But I think he really performed good as well. 8 assists, same as Martel, scoring 6 goals but providing 8 assists. That was really good. Now let's have a look at goals. Who scored most of the goals? It was Duran, scoring 25 goals in 44 appearances. Then it was Aymeri, who was really brilliant, 19 goals, 11 assists. Urgnik, who was unbelievable in that number 10 position, 15 goals, 7 assists. Facundo Torres with 15 goals, and then the rest of them providing goals as well. Daniel James with most number of assists. I think he came in number 10 with 10 assists in the season. Facundo Torres with 9. Martel 8. Dardai with 8. Then it was really an outstanding performance from this team. And the only player that I was disappointed, it's none other than the forward that we signed thinking that he would be really good. And it was
Maximiliano Gomez, who apparently started in 13 games, brought on from the bench for 9 games, only scored 6 goals and only 1 assist. I think he is not good enough for BSC Young Boys, so we might sell him in case of the goal scored from John Duran. He is really an exceptional player. I do not know if Aston Villa would want to sell him to us. We will see if we can get him. But remember, guys, we have got a player who we might count on once we get back for the second season, and that is none other than Francesco Pio Esposito. So if we won't be able to get John Duran, we will try to start next season with Esposito. So I'm pretty much locked on to that player. In terms of selling, we are going to sell few players, and that is what we're going to do. Now, looking at other competitions, we did win this Schweizer Cup, and we were pretty much comfortable in terms of winning this cup from FC Lucerne, which we won 2 goals to 4. So that was a good win. Then looking at the other competitions, Europa League, we were knocked out by PSV Eindhoven. Not a good result. We were knocked out of Champions League as well in the, I think, qualification round. So that was not a good result as well. But pretty much, I think the board would be happy in terms of what we have given. So let's see how much budget we're going to get in the second season. What players are we going to sell? And most probably, what players will we acquire coming into the future? Remember, we have been tasked to sign Swiss players. Will we sign any Swiss players in the second season? We will find out that soon enough. So hopefully we'll do this right that after this wheel spinning, which will get the budget, and then we'll continue in the second season. So far, Kieran McKenna first season as the BSC Young Boys manager has been quite successful. Let's see if we can take this success more into the second season as well as the third season. So I'll see you in the next one where we'll be spinning the wheel. Right, guys, as you can see, we have got the new transfer budget. I think we'll get slight improvement on that. But for looking at the current position, the amount of money that we have is approximately 36.8 million, as well as we've got a pretty good payroll as well. Now what we're going to do is we're going to spin the wheel and see how much money can we get in terms of improving the squad. What we're going to do is we're going to see how much money can we add to that transfer kitty. This is what our aim is going to be. So that is the reason why we're going to spin this wheel and see what can Kieran McKenna do in terms of improving this team and taking it where it's supposed to be. So we're going to spin it and let's see how much transfer budget do we get. And it's coming up to 142 million. Oh my god, this is going to be a huge transfer kitty. Now you would all think that will BSC Young Boys be able to spend this much money in real life? Now what I'm thinking is, I'm pretty much sure that won't be the case, but let's look at this. If BSC Young Boys are playing in the Champions League, then they would require good players in terms of playing on two fronts, which is one is the European front as well as the domestic front. And I think looking at the past season, we didn't do good in the Champions League as well as the Europa League. So we're going to go big and we're going to spend some good money on those players who could really improve us by a mile. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to bring in that X factor and see if we can improve on that front. So most probably we're going to do right exactly that. We're going to spend this much money and we're going to make sure that BSC Young Boys will be challenging on the European front. So I'm sure that you guys are going to be quite happy with this transfer budget for the second season. And I'm sure that Kieran McKenna is going to be. So let's see what can we do in order to improve the team. We're going to do those transfers now. And then we'll show you the summary where we have gone in and bring in those new players, which will help Kieran McKenna to go really good on those two fronts. So I'll see you once we've done those transfers. Right, guys, we are back. We have done the transfers. As you can see, we have spent some money on the screen. We're going to go through first from the outgoings and then we'll come back to incomings. We have made lots of changes. And remember, guys, we had so much money to spend and we have given our team a chance over here to do good in Europe. And that is why we have spent lots of big bucks. So let's go and see what players did we send out. The thing is, I was looking for some players that they weren't getting enough game time. They were good players for the squad,
They were very good options for rotation, but they weren't giving as I would have normally liked. Some of them were pretty much young, so we sent them out on loan, as well as those players who I thought that maybe we can get some money in and reinvest that money in the squad. We have done so. So we're gonna go first with Maximiliano Gomez, who has joined Al Shabab. They came in for him and they basically offered us a good amount of money, 18.5 million, and I think he wasn't performing that good. As well as John Duran was so good in that season. He wasn't getting enough game time. I mean, 15 appearances, 3 goals only. It wasn't a good return. So we thought about making a good solid profit from his sale, and we managed to do that. And then we thought maybe we'll get in some other better players because he wasn't offering us what we wanted. Now looking into another player that we sold was Daniel James. Daniel James has moved to Southampton. He's gonna be playing for Southampton. The thing is, I was okay with him with in terms of assists, 10 assists, but his goal ratio was quite low, and I didn't expect him to be. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to score 20 goals or 15 goals, but I expected him to be a little bit better in terms of scoring goals for us. So we managed to sell him on a very good profit, 28.5 million, and he has joined Southampton in Championship, and they have spent big bucks on him. Then what happened was we also sold this guy, Lucas Lecomi. I mean, he is a good player, but he wasn't giving us that kind of range which we wanted in our midfielder. And I thought we wanted a little bit more creativity in that midfield in order to go for that European competition. And that is where Almeria, they came in for him, and we managed to get good profit from his sale. So we bought him for 2.1 million, but then we sold him for 7.75, which is a good return. Now, going forward, we also sold 2 other players, and you can see clearly over here. One of them was Itten, who was, I think, in terms of he was a good player, but I don't think so he was offering us because John Duran is way too good. He is a very good striker, but I don't think so he is that good. But anyway, a club from UAE came in for him, and we managed to sell him for a good profit of 16.5 million. Then there was another player that we did sell to Al Shabab. It was Rodani. I mean, he plays as a winger and he is kind of a good player, but for some reason, I felt that, you know what, we have got many options in that position. And plus, we managed to sign a very good nice player, which I'm going to show you in few moments. But I think we made a very good profit on him as well. Then we also sold Sadi Janko, who was a pretty good wingback, but I think we got so many wingbacks in that position that we opted to sell him, and he has joined Coventry City. So another player leaves BSC Young Boys and joins a championship team. So we have managed to sell these players. Now let's go towards the incomings, the one that you guys are being waiting for. Let's go first for the players that we have apparently signed, and that is none other than Luis Suarez, who we have signed for 10 million. I mean, this guy is 37 years of age, but I think if he can be a support to John Duran, because we signed him permanently, John Duran has signed for BSC Young Boys. So Luis Suarez is going to be the perfect player who could play as a number 9 as well as a number 10. And I think, you know what, maybe Inter Miami would require some money. He gave in 9 goals in 16 appearances, and I think he's much better than Maximiliano Gomez. So that is the reason why we went in for him. And if he manages to give us 1 or 2 good years, who knows, it will be a good investment. Then the other player that we went in for was Fornals from Real Betis. He was listed, and I was looking for a good creative midfielder, and I think we have got a very good player. Looking at his ratings over there, you can see in terms of agility 15, his vision is 13, teamwork is 15, his passing is 13, his technique is 15, his dribbling is 13, his first touch is 14. This is what we want in our midfielder. This is the kind of thing that we require in our team, a little bit of creative spark, and this guy is going to give it to us. Then what we did was we also went in for another player who is I think a big signing for us, Pedro Neto. I mean, Chelsea were looking to sell him on. They transfer listed him, and I was really lucky to get him because there were other clubs as well. But we managed to get him for a modest 15.25 million. And what a purchase this guy is going to be. And I was quite surprised that he wanted to join the Swiss league. Apparently, due to the fact because I think Pedro Neto is a kind of player who would be a very huge player for a Premier League team, but I think he understood because we were playing in Champions League and he wanted to have that as well. So we were offering that and we managed to get him for a very good 15.25 million. And I think he'll be much better than Daniel James. So I hope he'll be able to score some goals. Now, moving forward, we went on to sign another brilliant player. It is Renan Lodi. He was transfer listed as well, and we managed to sign him from Al Hilal. He is going to be a perfect left back for us. Although we have got a pretty good player in that position, but if we are going to play in Europe, we need a good cover, and that is where Renan Lodi comes in. And I think we've signed a very good left back who will give us those kind of options. And I'm pretty much happy with his stats. Look at his acceleration, look at his pace, look at his dribbling, and looking at his technique and passing. I think he's going to be creative left back for us. Whereas in terms of crossing 15, that's what we need. John Duran playing up front, him coming in from left hand side, putting those crosses in. This is what we wanted. And Renan Lodi is the player that we have signed. Now, going forward, we also managed to get another player. He was offered to us by an intermediary. They were looking to sell him from Fiorentina. We managed to got this good right back, and I think he was much better option than Janko, and that is why we sold Janko and got this guy. He's 21 years of age, 5-star potential ability. Although his stats are a little bit lower in some areas, but I think he's going to be a very good player. If he spends a season with us, next season for sure, he's going to be a huge player for us. Then we also went on to sign another brilliant player, which is Shaqiri, at the wrong side of 30. But I still think because due to the demand from the board as well as the supporters that they want us to sign a Swiss player, that is the reason why I went in for Shaqiri. And I still think that at this age, even at this time, he can offer us. He was playing for Basel and he was playing for his old club, but I managed to get him. I think he wouldn't mind to play for the Swiss champions, and he can play in the European competition as well. So Shaqiri joins with Luis Suarez. So I hope there is an old Liverpool connection. We will see how these two players will do good for BSC Young Boys. Now, the big one, John Duran has signed for BSC Young Boys on a permanent deal. It was costly, but because he was so good in his first season, we managed to get him for as a permanent player for BSC Young Boys. 7.5 million was the fee that we spent on loan, but this time, because we had so much huge transfer budget, I wanted to make sure that we had him for the next season, and we managed to get him. 19 goals in first season, 3 assists. I think he really had a brilliant season. Hopefully he will be coming good. In total, he scored 25 goals. Remember, he scored goals in the Continental, which is the European competition, as well as the other cups games as well. So 25 goals in first season. I'm sure he's going to score lots of goals. Him, Luis Suarez, and Esposito, I think is a brilliant attacking lineup. So now we're going to move forward to the last two signings that we made. It is Ebane Bovat, who is as a Scottish centre back. I managed to get him. He has got a 4-star potential ability, and I think in terms of coverage, he'll be very good player. He has went back out on loan at Portsmouth, so he will join us next season. I wanted to get him because he was being offered for a very good fee, and we have managed to get him. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be a really good player for us next season. Now, going back, the other player that I went in for, because he was transfer listed as well by Chelsea, he was not required, and I managed to get a very good steal. It is Tosin, and I think he's going to be a proper centre back for us. I'm so happy to get him. It was really surprising to see him transfer listed. He didn't get so many games, 5 games in all, and we managed to buy him in 12.5 million. It's really brilliant to have a player as him. He's so good for Fulham, and I do know that for Chelsea, it's a case of they've got so many players in that position, and we managed to get him. So in total, we have spent lots of money. If you take this 18.5 million, add it up to the rest with these money that we have paid. We have spent around 80, 90 million, and maybe over than that because John Durant costed us 34 million. But we also sold some players, so we're pretty much okay in terms of we still got some money. But I think our squad is done for the second season, and we would want to continue over there. So there you go, 51 million still remaining, but I think our squad is perfect. We are done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to simulate this and see where do BSC Young Boys end up in the European competition as well as domestically. So I'm sure that you guys are interested, and hopefully we'll have some good news. And I'm sure that you guys will be waiting for this second season. Let's see how well we be managing to get BSC Young Boys in Europe competition. And Kieran McKenna, I'm sure his tactics are going to work quite effectively. So I'll see you once we simulated this. Right guys, we are back and we have completed season number 2. It looks like BSC Young Boys have got a mix of results, and it seems that they have become the champions of the Swiss League once more. And there are some surprises in terms of what we were expecting, and what has actually happened is completely different to what we were expecting basically. And I'm going to go through that in a second. But we have to admire the way Kieran McKenna's team has won the Swiss League twice in a row, and it's looking quite good domestically. But we're going to come back to the European. We're going to go and see what has happened there. But right now, looking at Esposito, what a turnaround this has to be. He wasn't being selected. He wasn't getting those many chances. And then suddenly an injury took place for Durant, and Esposito got to play lots of games, and he was being selected even when Durant came back. And look the way he has returned, 24 goals. It's simply sensational. And I think he has scored around 28 goals in the whole season. Looking at his average rating, 7.36. His teammate Ogrenik, who has got 7.27. It is simply unbelievable. Player of the match, Esposito, 6 times, which is really good. Now, what we're going to do is looking at this league table, 38 games played, 26 games won, 8 losses with 82 points. And that means 14-point difference between the first and second position. Kieran McKenna has really outdone himself in the second season. Domestically, he has done a pretty good job. Now we're going to go and see what has happened in the European competition. We were knocked out in the league phase. Not that good performance. We were expecting to go into the at least playoff round, but it didn't happen. So that means it wasn't a good campaign for the European. But it was also very bad in the Swiss Cup. We were knocked out in the third round by FC Winterthur. So that means it was not a good performance. That is the reason why there are some issues in the squad, which we're gonna go into right now. Esposito, you can see as there he is with 28 goals in the season. Looking at Ugrinik, second with 14 goals. Imeri with 9 goals. Now Pedro Neto had a mix of seasons, 6 goals and 7 assists. Whereas we did bring in a player in the end of the window, which wasn't included in those transfers. It was Naipan. We went in for him and we got him. 5 goals, 6 assists. Renan Lodi with 5 goals and 4 assists. John Durant apparently got pretty few appearances due to the fact that he was injured, and when he came back, Esposito was in a very hot form, and John Durant couldn't get that much game time. He wasn't starting by Kieran McKenna. I mean, 11 starts with 13 coming off from the bench. So it wasn't a good season for him. But now, once again, showing how good he is at the back. He's the captain. Now, as you can see, most of the players over here, this green board over here which says wanted, and most of our players are being wanted by so many clubs. I mean, look at Esposito, wanted by West Ham United, Wolves, Marseille, AC Milan. AC Milan are in for him. Then looking at Organic, he's being wanted by Wolves. Wolves are interested in so many of our players. Imeri is being interest. I mean, he's getting interest from Tottenham, Atletico Madrid. Looking at Pedro Neto is being wanted by Everton. Renan Lodi has been sensational and we're now being wanted by Leicester City, Juventus. I mean, Juventus want him. Looking at Lucas Mai, who's being wanted by so many clubs: Bayern Munich, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Newcastle United. Wow, what kind of players we have. Basically, we got them at a very low price, and now they've been turning out performances after performances in Swiss League, and people have got the attention. They really want them. Facundo Torres wanted by Newcastle, Tottenham, West Ham, Bayern Munich, Atletico Madrid. Martel wanted by Lyon, Torino, Villarreal. Dardai wanted by so many clubs. I mean, look at that list. It's Chelsea, it's Everton, it's Newcastle United, it's Frankfurt, FC Bayern, Atlanta, Juventus. I mean, these players are really giving us good performances. Fornals is being wanted by Cagliari. He's not getting that much game time. He came off from the bench 21 times. And Lopez is also asking to leave. He wants to go out for a new challenge. So we might sell him. And our goalkeeper is being wanted by Manchester United. So we might sell him. Marco Jong is being wanted by Leverkusen. So many of our players are wanted by so many clubs, but we're not going to sell all of them. And you can see it's Arnau Gomez wanted by so many clubs: Gladbach, Cagliari, FC Lausanne. And then looking at Rensch, who just joined us, is more wanted by Villarreal. Nuremberg are interested in Karius. I mean, so many players of ours are being targeted by other clubs. We're not going to sell all of them. We're going to keep some of them, and we'll see whatever comes our way in terms of good offer. We'll then calculate it and see if it makes sense. Then we'll sell them. If not, then we'll keep them. So guys, this is what we have got so far in the second season. So what we're going to do is, in the next section, we're going to do the spinning wheel and see how much transfer budget do Kieran McKenna get. And then from there onwards, what we're going to do is we're going to do those transfers for the third season and see if Kieran McKenna can change this team and see if we can hit that European campaign once more. So far, the Champions League has been very hard, but hopefully we get the squad right. Now, looking at the issues, what we're going to do is there are some issues which I was just looking through. And when you look at tactics, I have selected two up front, but for some reason, Kieran McKenna always goes in with one striker. And due to that reason, the only disappointing for me was Luis Suarez, who got 3 goals and 1 assist. He apparently played in 5 games only, and 1 coming off from the bench is not a good return. So we might look on to move on Luis Suarez, because if Kieran McKenna is going to play with 1 forward, then we don't need those many forwards in our team. Esposito and John Duran can make that work out. So we're going to sell Luis Suarez, and we're going to see if we can bring in somebody on the wing or in that number 10 role, and we'll work out from there. So that is what our strategy is going to be. So let's see what we can do. So spinning wheel is next, and I'm sure that you guys are really looking towards it. So guys, we are back and we are about to spin this wheel, and this is going to be the beginning of the third season under Kieran McKenna for the BSC Young Boys. Now let's hope last season we had, you do tend to get those bigger budgets, but this time around I really want a good budget, because we can work some things out, and we should really be looking into get some big buys. I want to go for huge buys, and hopefully we'll be able to attract some stars. So let's see if that will be the case. So let's do this. Let's spin this wheel and see if we can get BSC Young Boys a huge pot of money for Kieran McKenna's third season BSC Young Boys. So let's spin this. And we are spinning the wheel. It's spinning. Ooh, 59 million. That is not a bad budget. So 59 million is going to be adding up to that transfer kitty, whatever the board gives us in the third season. I think it's a respectable amount of money that we got. We're going to sell some players as well. We're going to try to raise some cash, and then we'll go for big players, because we want to really go forward in the Champions League. That's what our target is. We won the Swiss League twice. I think Kieran McKenna can do better by getting some huge stars if they're willing to come to Swiss League, and let's see if we can manage to get those and get that European campaign underway. So let's do those transfers, and I'll be back with those transfers. Right guys, we are back. We have done the transfers, and it seems that we have made lots of good business in terms of outgoings as well as incomings. It has been a spectacular transfer window. Under Kieran McKenna, we have brought in some unbelievable players, and we're going to go through them one by one. But before we do that, we're going to go through the outgoings, and that is what our aim is going to be. Remember, we did the spinning wheel. We got 59 million, as well as we sold some players. We have made a huge profit, and there was also a particular incident with one of the player, which I'm going to tell you a little bit later in terms of outgoing. So let's begin what we have done. We have sold Cabella to Atletico Madrid. We have sold Darien Males to Leeds United. We have also got rid of some players on loan. Now what we're going to go back and see what else we have done in terms of selling. We have apparently made a huge profit. First of all, it is Malik Deme leaving for Luzerne. Then it was Loper who wanted to get a move away. He moved to Everton for 23.5 million. And the big one was Dardai. Dardai was the most demanded player in terms of bids. I was receiving bids right, left, and center. The big one was from Manchester City, and I accepted that bid. But from nowhere, Chelsea came in and a huge bid. Manchester City bid was around 54.5 million, whereas Chelsea just blew them away with 65 million, and I managed to get that deal over. Then it was Karius who wanted to get his move, and because due to the fact that he wasn't getting that much game time, so we managed to sell him. And there was another player who I did get in terms of balancing it out. The big one, other than Dardai, was Facundo Torres, who has joined Newcastle United. What a player he has been for us in terms of his career in Europe. It was really brilliant having 2 seasons with us. He was so good for 7.25 million. We managed to get a huge profit, almost you could say 57 million, and it was a big bid. He gave us 10 goals in his first season, 3 goals in second season, 6 assists in second season, 5 assists. He was a very good player, but it seemed to me that it was a huge bid, and I didn't want it to ruin that chance in order to make that much money. So I managed to sell him. The fans were not happy. They were not happy with it, but eventually we did manage to sell him. Then it was Fornals who wanted to leave as well, not getting that much game time as well. Al Riyadh came in 18.75 million. So we made a huge profit. Now we're going to go towards the incomings. I'm leaving one player out for the outgoings. I'm going to come back to that later. But first we're going to do the incomings. Looking at the move that we made, not in this transfer window, but in the previous window, he was available for 3.5 million, and we managed to sign him, Nipan from Rosenborg, and he has been a really good player for us. The big one, guys, it is none other than Lionel Messi, who has joined us. I mean, what a player he is in real life, and he is going to be playing with us with young boys, and I think it's a big move for us to get a player like Messi. I mean, I was really shocked to see him on the transfer list, and normally I thought maybe Inter Miami were kidding, but they weren't. They wanted to get rid of him due to the fact that he was on huge wages, and we managed to get him for 2.28 million per year, which is a huge. I think I've never seen a player like Lionel Messi moving to a Swiss club, a young boys. But anyway, we managed to get him, and he'll be playing for us. So, other than Lionel Messi, we went in big because we got rid of, remember, Facundo Torres, and I wanted to get some good wingers, and we brought in Adingra. He was transfer listed by Brighton, and for some reason they didn't want him, and we managed to sign him. He is really a good player. We signed him for 47 million. It's a huge fee for a Swiss club. We were breaking all kind of transfer records, but we managed to get him. He is going to be a really good player. We have seen him playing in friendly. He's a really good winger. The other player, which was also a shock for us, was Brennan Johnson. Tottenham transfer listed him, and to a big surprise, he wanted to move to us, but it was a little bit costly because he asked for 5.12 million in wages, which will increase as well. But we were willing to get him because, remember, guys, we want to have good wingers in our team. We really want to do good in the Europe. We haven't been able to do that in the first season as well as the second season. Now with Lionel Messi, Brennan Johnson, as well as Adingra, I think we have got the capability, because I thought in the second season for some time that we have 2 good strikers in Esposito and John Duran, but Kieran McKenna was making them play just one of them, and the other one was injured, so he wasn't solely focusing on the front man. He was solely focusing on those 3 men who play right behind the striker. So in that regard, I went into the transfer market trying to look into those areas and strengthen those positions. and we have managed to do that. So Brennan Johnson, Adingra, and Lionel Messi are going to give us exactly that. The other big move that we made is Sommer. We managed to get him from Inter Milan, and 36 years of age. He's going to be playing for us. I think he's a better goalkeeper in terms of to Karius, so that is why I accepted Karius and got Sommer instead of him, and I think he's going to be a big player. Then another player that we went in for was Leon Advulahu, who is going to be a really good player, 4.5-star potential. I think he's going to be a really good player because Loper did wanted to get his move, so we wanted to get a replacement, a Swiss player, a young player, and he's going to be really good. And then another player that I went in for late was Amar Diallo, due to the fact that we really need those three positions to be covered from all aspects. If we get an injury, if a player is suspended, we want to be firing on full cylinders. That is the reason why we have managed to get Amar Diallo as well, who will be playing for BSC Young Boys. So big signings. Now going into the defensive part, which I'm going to come to the outgoing, is none other than this guy, Lars Lucas Mai, who was really a big player for Young Boys. But for some reason, Atletico Madrid were coming in for him. I was rejecting their bid. And then what happened was he was unhappy. He had a discussion. He really wanted to get the move. And I refused it because I really wanted to do good in Europe and I wasn't letting him go. Then the whole squad came to me and requested that he should be let go. He really wanted to get his move to Atletico Madrid. And then I understood because there was no harmony in the squad and it was kind of upsetting the whole squad. So I let him go for a huge bid, 85 million. Atletico Madrid were coming around. It started from 47 million and it came all the way to 67 million. But then I asked that, you know what, if you really want this man, then you really have to pay a huge buck. And they managed to get him. And you can see straight away he's now valued around 180 million to 216 million. And he's a really good player. So anyway, we have got enough cover now because we have signed two good players. One of them is Fabian Schär. We signed him on free from Newcastle United. His contract was up and we thought, you know what, he's a good Swiss player, wanted to come back home and have a good European campaign as well, a good cover. So we have managed to sign Schär, as well as we have managed to get Lenny Yoro on loan. He was listed on loan by Manchester United. We managed to get him on a good price. And now we have got good coverage in defensive positions. And if we look at the squad, it's looking quite good. Jan Sommer, Blum, Tosin, Bernau, Marco John, Martel, Nato, Amar Diallo, Adingra, Lionel Messi, John Duran. I mean, we are really covered. Then you got Ugranik, who's been really the standout player in this whole series. And I think he's going to be one of those players which I'll be targeting if I'll be playing with some other teams as well. Now, Emery is here, Shaqiri is here. We got Naipan, we got Renan Lodi, Brennan Johnson. I think this is going to be a really big season for Young Boys. We got Esposito as well. We're going to do good in European campaign. That's what I think. And let's hope we do get the results that we're looking for. And I hope that you love today's season 3 in terms of transfers. It was far better than season 1 and season 2. If you would ask me, I would give this rating around 9 out of 10. And I think Kieran McKenna has a very good chance to take this team forward in the European competition. Hopefully we manage to do that. And we will see what will be the results. So let's see the results do come in our favor. So I'll see you once we have simulated that. And stay tuned in and please do subscribe. Right, guys, we have done it. Season 3 BSC Young Boys is complete. Kieran McKenna is the champion once again. As you can see on your screen, BSC Young Boys winning the league title 3 times in a row. A very huge, I would say, achievement it is for Kieran McKenna to win a foreign league 3 times in a row. And that has been a truly sensational career for him, because we know that he's currently in real life managing Ipswich Town, but managing BSC Young Boys in a foreign league, in a foreign club, as well as where there are multiple languages such as German, Italian, and you tend to communicate with players in those different languages, tend to increase your skill. Now Kieran McKenna has done a brilliant job. We're going to go through every competition that he took part in the 3rd season, and let's see how did he perform. Right, in the league, he won the league title and he lost 7 times. He drew 4 times, won 27 games, 85 points. The second team in the league, FC Luzerne,
They were on 74 points. They couldn't even make to the mark of 80 points. So that means young boys have really been superb this season. We're going to go to as a squad and see how many goals did the players score, how many assists did the players get. Now, before we do that, we're going to go into the other competitions and see did they win any of the thing as well. Looking at Champions League, they were knocked out in the semi-final by Real Madrid, which is huge, getting to the Champions League semi-final. And you guys do remember when we were doing the transfers, we were focusing on the European competition due to the fact that the last 2 seasons were completely disappointing. They couldn't make to the later stages of the tournament. So what we did was we bought some good players and made sure that this time the squad is well and ready to kick in all the cylinders, specifically in the Champions League, so that they can get a little bit further in the tournament. And look what it has brought us, a semi-final achievement by Kieran McKenna. It's a huge result. Now, the only disappointing thing here is that we're watching right now is the Schweizer Cup. Semi-final knocked out by FC Zurich. It was a really poor game by these standards. If you look at the scoreline, it was 4-1 and a very poor game. Now, I was expecting them to win this Swiss Cup because I wanted a double and I wanted them to do good in Europe. Now, we managed to do 2, which is winning the league and getting far in the European competition. But in terms of not getting the double, it's a little bit disappointing. But anyway, we'll give credit to Kieran McKenna for winning the league title 3 times in a row, as well as getting further in the latter stages of Champions League. Now, let's have a look at the squad and see how they're rated. We're going to go first in appearances. Esposito played 50 games, a big number. And usual suspects, Udrinik and Leon Edvolahu has been really brilliant. 9 goals and 6 assists. Wow. Brendan Johnson playing in 14 games, starting in 14 games, coming from the bench 29 times, scoring 9 goals and giving 8 assists. Not a bad return. Lionel Messi, 49 games, wow, and 9 goals scored, 12 assists. He is the assist king. Then Adingra playing in 5 games and coming off from the bench 17 times, 7 goals and 4 assists. Not a bad return, but he should have been playing in more games. Aymeri, once again, the usual suspect, 40 games, 10 times coming from the bench, 7 goals, 13 assists. Wow. And then Pedro Neto, I think he is the player of the season. Pedro Neto has played in 26 games, coming off the bench 26 times, 7 goals scored and 18 assists. Wow. Now, going a little bit down, Lenny Yoro, who came to BSC Young Boys on loan, 48 games started. That is a huge number. I think he's going to return to Manchester United and he will be a sensational player for them. The only downside was Jon Duran, who couldn't get ahead of Esposito, only starting 1 game and coming 6 times from the bench, 3 goals scored, 1 assist, and one can truly understand that he couldn't get ahead of Esposito. So it's a lesson for the future. If you got 2 big prospects, you just need to have 1, and if you're playing with the sole striker, the other prospect won't get any more chance. So that's what has happened. Esposito got 2 seasons and he was truly sensational because apparently Jon Duran got injured in the last season, and since then Esposito has been ahead of him and Duran couldn't have been, he hasn't been able to get back in the game as he would have loved to. But now what a player he has been. He's been the captain and so many clubs were interested in him. We kept them at bay. 33 games started, 3 goals, 5 assists. What a season he had as well. Amad Diallo, a little bit disappointing for him. Only 4 starts with 5 coming from the bench, 2 goals. He could have done better. Fabian Schär is going to be retiring, so will be Shaqiri. And you can see clearly that this time around it was really good. Esposito, I think, will win the player of the series for BSC Young Boys, and that was really good. I'm sure you guys would have loved this episode with BSC Young Boys with Kieran McKenna winning 3 league titles in a row, winning 1 Swiss Cup and getting to the semi-final of the Champions League. And I'm going to show you one more bit where you would see what opponents did BSC Young Boys face in Champions League. It was Feyenoord in the knockout playoff round, and then in the round of 16 it was Bayer Leverkusen 5-2. Wow. And then Bayer Leverkusen, they kind of came back in the game and they lost on penalties, and that is where BSC Young Boys went into the quarterfinal. That was a very lucky escape. So
sliding into the quarterfinal and 3-0 win in the first leg and then 1-0 win. It was a very bad result for Inter Milan. But then, of course, reality hits you. It is Real Madrid who are the European giants. 1-3 loss, and then they won against Real Madrid. Wow. In the second leg, they did win against Real Madrid, but they couldn't get to the Champions League final, which is okay. I think Kieran McKenna has done a brilliant job winning a game against Real Madrid, but losing on aggregate is not a bad result in my eyes. I think that he has done an unbelievable stuff. Hopefully he'll tend to do this in real life as well. So I'm sure that you guys would have loved today's episode, and next time around we'll be doing these clubs. And let's see who will be this time around. First episode it was Liverpool. Second time this is BSC Young Boys. And in the next one, let's see who will come up. And I'm sure that you guys would have loved this series. Please do drop a comment if you want anything to be added in this whole program. So we will be listening to your comments and we'll be trying to put those ideas into this series. And I'm sure you would have been liking these kind of experiments. Please do drop a like, please do subscribe, and certainly I'll see you in the next episode. Have a nice one, guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Jungle.